Alrighty then, so one part of this game is down and also one track, and now we can move onwards to track number 2, which is Tokyo Route 246. One course is already down, and now it's on to the next one, where we are driving a Ford GT40 LM. And don't need the pace car, as we are going to Tokyo Route 246. By the way, the GT40 LM is basically the same as the Ford GT LM race car. Basically the race car variant to the GT40 concept, essentially. Or just the Ford GT concept, if you want simplicity. Anyways. Target times, we need a 1 minute 36 for a gold, a 1 minute 43 for a silver, and a 1 minute 50 for a bronze. Here we go. Around Tokyo. And hopefully my performance will not be too lackluster. Even though I'm already off to a brilliant start. And I'm scraping the walls already. And keeping everything in check as we are now already about halfway into this lap and still trying to keep the focus going as we are now through into Sector 3. Keeping myself in 4th gear. Wondering if this lap will be indeed adequate enough for me to set the pace. I have a feeling it might be, even though earlier in the lap my efforts were quite lackluster, to say the least. And what time is it going to be? Is it going to be good enough for a gold? Yes it is, by 0.7 of a second. I thought for sure after those early mistakes I made it wasn't going to be good enough for a gold, but then once I got the hammer down in those 2 other sectors, that was ultimately what made the difference. Yes, it's a GT40, of course I'm going to save the license replay. Because of how much I love the Ford GT. Anyways, there we go. And for obtaining the bronze, we get ourselves another Hyundai. And for achieving the gold, we get ourselves... Is this a Mazda 6 or something? Yeah, it is. A Mazda 6 touring car, I think is what this is meant to be. Anyways, there we go. So those are our prize cars from the license, and let's now move onwards to the races themselves. So back down to normal level. And to start off with, I'm gonna use another Pacific car. See what there is. You know, there's just something about having a Honda S2000 drive around this circuit. Yes, let's drive the S2000. around Tokyo because it's a combination that fits. Or at least I think it's a combination that fits, but you know. So, for our competition in this race, we have a Nissan Silvia Spacar, which I think is meant to be the S15, a Pontiac Solstice along with the V6 Renault Clio, a Toyota MR2 and a Lotus Elise. Is our competition in this race. And it does appear as though most of us have used variety in the colours we are racing in, with the exception of both the Clio and the Silvia because they are both racing in blue. And already making contact there with the MR2, and now overtaking the Solstice for third position, and immediately just like that I thread my way through to take the lead, as I would have expected myself to do so because that's just how easy this really is. Already threading the needle as I would have expected myself to do so. And all that's left for me to do now is to just go onwards and destroy the rest of the field. And at the moment the Solstice is now up into the third position. As it currently stands. And already coming up to completing the first lap now here in Tokyo. And it's a pretty long lap compared to what I had with the GT40 because obviously these cars are much slower. And already on to lap number 2 now as we speak. And we already have a 15-second interval to the Solstice. I don't anticipate anyone to catch us, but the one thing I do expect, however, is basically for myself to extend on my advantage. And having to basically ease on and ease off the throttle through there, because if I didn't, then I would have scraped the wall. I always have to be aware of my surroundings, and that's just what I'm able to do. Don't really see any point in pushing hard at the moment, but I'm just doing it anyway, just to make a statement of how easy it is to win a race on the normal level. And now it is the MR2 who has taken the second position away from the Solstice. And there we go. Easy win. Now I just have to wait for everyone else to be done with this race. There we go. The Lotus has finally managed to finish. So, won by 32.5 seconds over the MR2, the Clio finishes 3rd, the Solstice eventually drops down to 4th in the end of that race, followed by the Sylvia in 5th, and the Elise once again rounding out the finishing order. And I probably will have to drive that thing eventually just to give it some redemption. But anyways, so for winning the normal race we get ourselves a Honda NSX R Concept. I think is what this car is. Basically the concept to the latest model of the NSX Type R that would be introduced later on that year. Anyways, 2 races left, and let's now get on with the professional level. And I think for this I'm going to use Dream Car, just because I've not officially checked these things out yet. You know what, I'm going to save the Mazda. But I will, however, use the NSXR LM Edition Road version. Yeah, let's drive in silver. So, using the Honda NSXR prototype for this event. Okay, change of plans. I'm not going to use the NSX for this race because the cars I'm going up against are clearly more superior. So what I'm instead going to do is change cars, and I'm gonna use a car that I might have a stronger shot of winning with. And that car I'm gonna use will officially be the Spiker. The Spiker C8. Just because I've already noticed how much of a deficit I'm at in the NSX, who apparently is in this race. And along with him we also have the Mines Skyline, a Reef CTR2 along with an Audi RS6 and a Jag XJ220. Hopefully I will not be quite at... Maybe this time I will not have as much of a deficit. Even though it probably looks as though this is clearly going to be a deficit. But at least I can say I'm trying. Well, still got some oversteer in certain places, but at least I can say I've actually got the acceleration this time, so maybe it is possible for me to win using this thing. Even then, of course, the AI are clearly proving to be that much better than me overall. And literally power sliding my way through into the outside wall there, and threaded my way up into first position. First place is where the Spiker is now at. And I'm hopeful in saying I can stay there. As of which I now already have a 1 second advantage over the Mines Skyline, even though the punchy oversteer is still proving to be a problem. Anyways, completing lap 1, and it does look as though this time I have clearly chosen a better car than the one I was using before. and I've certainly chosen a much more competitive car compared to the one I was using before. Anyways, the Spiker leads in Tokyo ahead of the Mines Skyline, I think. It was in second. And, oh wait, hold on. I think that's the Jag I see back there, so things could get interesting real fast, is what I'm saying. But I'm just hopeful in saying I can at least manage to hold on to my advantage. Also, the reason why I switched over to the Spiker is technically because, well, the Honda NSX prototype I was using, yeah, I think that was probably dragging too much. Didn't have enough acceleration to get the job done. And well, whereas with this, I'm basically managing to hold my own. Subsequently speaking, of course. I am managing to hold a candlestick to these AI, as we now begin the final lap here in Tokyo. Hard braking into turn 1. Still getting some oversteer, but thankfully managing to keep it under control. I am managing to tame the beast. And it doesn't look as though anyone is going to be challenging me for the lead. I'm still holding on. The Jag is up in second position, but I can say at the present time I've clung on to the first position, and whoever is at the back, they must be way the fuck behind everyone else. So 5-second advantage now to the Jag XJ220. As we now head into the final sequence of corners and also the hairpin. Keeping everything as orchestrated as it should be. And it looks as though I'm going to waltz away with victory. No one seeming to put up a candlestick to the Spiker. And all it really took was switching over to a supercar over a prototype. Now we wait for wherever the Audi is. There he is. He finishes 42 seconds behind me. So I win by 5.3 seconds over the Jag XJ220, and then we had the Mines Skyline in third, followed by the Roof CTR2 ahead of the NSX prototype, and at the back it was the Audi. And already saved a replay as far as I know, and now it is time for our second prize car. And the one we win is the race car of the Honda NSX prototype. So that's pretty much all of the unlockable races now done and dusted. So that's all 4 prize cars. Of course, we do have one more race to get through before we can officially call this segment, and Now I'm going to drive a race car, considering I've not done that in this segment yet. Sorry, in this game yet. And I'm going to use... No, already used a Honda. Yeah, let's use the Castrol Tom's Supra for this race. Just because I want to have variety in the manufacturers. I've already chosen. And it looks as though it's going to be a full JGTC field here, as of which we have 4 Honda NSXs along with 1 Calsonic Skyline. Let's now get this race done. And here we are finishing off Tokyo. And should be able to get around here okay in the Castrol Supra. And already someone was heavy on the brakes there for a moment. And there was nothing I could have done there, considering I was already committed to the inside line. And at the moment I'm already losing momentum. Even though I am trying to see if I can close in on the leader. And already starting to make my moves up there on the curbs. Beautiful entry through that left-hander, through the 90-degree left-hander more or less. And already just like that, I immediately take the lead. And everyone just piles into me, unsurprisingly. Guess it's just what you would call the chaos of ace racing, don't you think? Notably the highest level of them all. On the brakes early through that corner, also back on the power soon enough. And clipping the inside wall, but doesn't look as though I've got anything major at the moment. I have managed to clear myself from the freight train that is behind me. And maybe if it's possible, I can manage to hold on to the lead. Maybe. Even though at the moment that is proving to be a questionable task because of my inconsistency. And the gap at the moment is 1.4 seconds. So running good at the moment, but these AI appear to be running better than me as it currently stands, as of which 2/3 of the field are basically Hondas in this race. And basically what I am trying to do is dethrone them, because the Supra is apparently a better car to drive in Tokyo compared to the Hondas. And still going a little early there on the brakes into the first right-hander. Although at the moment I've really got nothing to lose, even though my lap times are inconsistent. because of the mistakes I've been making up to this point. Really am trying my hardest to keep everything in check, but apparently even that at the moment is becoming quite a difficult task. And it is now the Mobile 1 NSX who takes over second position, as of which they're all basically dicing it out for position, just basically jockeying all over the place. Meanwhile, as they continue battling, I just continue pulling away. And is this going to be a new personal best? Yes it is, by less than a second. Two laps to go, and it does look as though, as a result of these AI battling amongst themselves, I am clearly pulling away from the rest of the pack as it currently stands. Doesn't look as though anyone is able to make any strides or gains, even though I'm basically doing both of those things. And now it is the Calsonic Skyline who moves up to second position, so positions amongst the AI are constantly changing, but meanwhile for me, I am just continually pulling away. Because these AI are basically just having a war of their own, as it currently stands. So, thus now begins the final lap here in Tokyo, as I clip to the inside wall, but everything seemingly okay at the moment, as of which I now have an 11.7 second lead now over the Calsonic Skyline, who is now up into second position ahead of the four Hondas, who are basically just out there battling amongst themselves and not really thinking about the competition ahead of them. They're just duking it out for themselves, essentially, is what they're doing. Although in saying that, the Mugen NSX has now retaken second position. Anyways, through the last hairpin bend and onto the front stretch, to officially completing the Ace difficulty race, and I'm going to do it by spinning out. Because I wanted to. Just wanted to give the fans a burnout as I crossed the line, essentially. So, won by 14 seconds in the end over the Castrol Mugen NSX. Then we had the Skyline in third position, followed by the Roybrig NSX, who finished in fourth. Then it was the Mobile 1 NSX, finishing ahead of the Arta NSX. So there we go. And just to be sure, yep, I do have a replay saved. Okay, good. And so, that shall do it for Tokyo. And all I have to do now is save the game. Alright, saving the game. Next.